with my partners in crime, Mikey Mike from Maryland, and of course Al the man. How you doing, Al? How you doing, Mike?
Good.
Very good.
You guys have a good day.
I had a
Yes.
great.
Stayed busy wrapping Christmas presents and doing little chores and running around.
Yeah, we had a very wet day
That's
here.
what I
Oh,
saw.
We had a
yeah.
wet day.
I
Yeah.
was supposed to work in Hollywood, and I said no. I'm not. I'm rescheduling this. I'm not getting on that freeway.
Uh,
I was in Woodland Hills this morning, and it just constant pouring all morning up there.
Yep.
But
yeah, you
you know
guys
we need.
got drenched.
Oh yeah. Well, for us, drench means anything over half an inch. So
Right.
Well, last week we had like 2 inches and everything flooded.
well, if we get 2 inches here, it floods anyway. So I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
you need sandbags on your driveway so water doesn't get in. And
Well, I'm on a hill, so my neighbor gets my residual.
well, actually, we're on the top of the hill, so we get the big rush, but the bottom of the hill gets all the flooding. So
Very good.
yeah. So Steamboat Willie, if you're out there, we miss you. We're looking forward to your return. Hopefully, you can join us tonight if you could. If not, well, we miss your ass. Don't worry.
We
We're
we
glad you're
got you.
doing well, sir. We're glad
We
you're doing
got you
well.
back.
Yep.
And don't worry about the campaign. The campaign will keep itself busy the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Um, so before we get into the big news of the day that we had, I want to talk about something that actually happened, which I'm super impressed with both Democrats and Republicans, for that matter. Um, they defeated Julie Sue's nomination for Secretary of Labor, um,
Mm.
and that was a bipartisan decision. Those of you that don't know who
Right.
she is the California Secretary of Department of Labor,
Oh,
and she did not get the nomination. Her paperwork was returned back to the White House without a vote. Um, to me, that's a great signal, right? We can agree that she obviously didn't do a great job in California, so why would we want to put her in charge of the nation? Um, so I like that decision. Not that it's going to make a difference because according to Biden, he's going to let her stay on the job as an acting capacity until they find somebody else. But both parties agree that she shouldn't be in charge. So I appreciate that. Kudos to both sides of the House, the Senate, for not allowing that to happen. So I was happy about that news.
yeah, and we got Martin O'Malley from Maryland is now your, I guess, director of Social Security.
From
He's the
Maryland?
Yeah, he's the one that wanted to do the rain tax on us, so that kind
Oh,
of give you a little insight on him.
nice.
Yeah, he was a governor out here for a few years.
Well, we get all the rejects from society. They all come here for whatever reason. I know the weather's better, and I know the state is probably one of the most beautiful states in the union. But some of you people, we don't want you here. Go away. Right? Don't hang around here. We don't need that. Um, hey, I want to talk about Rangers. I wasn't very familiar with their duties. Right. I know what a Ranger is, but never really understood what their duties are. Right. I had the pleasure of speaking to Rangers from Griffith Park and Handsome Dam up here in LA. And it was an enlightening meeting. I didn't know they were responsible for law enforcement. They're responsible for fires, first aid, and then volunteering to help the kids that are camping out there, teachers for those kids that have questions about what animals are, and they have a wide variety of duties. And I also didn't know that they went to the police academy, um,
Ah,
that they're post certified. I did not know that. Um, they actually graduate in the LAPD Academy. Right? And I bring that up because they're not allowed to carry weapons. Right?
right.
They can carry, they're certified to carry a weapon, but as a ranger, you're not allowed to carry a weapon in Los Angeles. Um,
Hmm.
which I find interesting, based on some of the things they deal with. Right, they get attacked, um, they get abused. A lot of abandoned vehicles are put in Griffith Park, and they can't do anything about it, which is really weird to me. Um,
They're kind of quasi law enforcement, aren't they?
right. But they
Yeah.
still go to the LAPD Academy. So in order to graduate, they have to be able to fire a weapon and qualify, right? But yet they're not allowed to carry a weapon. Right?
So that means if they decide to leave being a ranger, they can switch over to the police departments
I'm
because they're
assuming,
certified.
yeah, I'm assuming it was, and I call it interesting because I never realized that they weren't allowed to carry a weapon, especially in LA, right? So some of the parks that they patrol are Echo Park. If you don't live in LA, that's a bad park. They've tried to clean it up, but it's hard to clean it up. Griffith Park, um, huge homeless population, tent cities all over the park. People abandon their vehicles out there. They leave them out there. Most of them are probably stolen. They just take them there, drop them off. Um, but this ranger unit is overwhelmed. And LA is huge, and you know this, Al.
Yeah.
There's only 36
36
park
forest ranger.
rangers. Mhm.
Oh,
Park rangers.
Do you guys
huh.
have park police?
No.
Okay, that's where ours is different because
Yeah.
we have park police who are responsible for the parks, but we also have park rangers who are responsible for the parks. And I guess if they get into a situation, they get on the mic and say, sending me a park police down there to
Well,
recover
it's
those
and it's
vehicles.
and it's funny you say that because when I was asking them about that, they actually called LAPD for assistance, and LAPD couldn't assist them because they don't have jurisdiction over the parks.
Huh.
So what happens if there's a manhunt and they find the criminal they're looking for? What do?
I don't know. I ended up driving from Griffith Park to Handsome Dan to talk to their boss over there about all these issues. I personally did not realize any of that. And I was really honest with them. I'm like, look, as a citizen, I never heard of anything like that. I assumed.
Mm.
So that tells me that people probably assume that you guys have all this support to help you. Because I know you've been to Griffith Park, and some parts of Griffith Park I won't go. Right. Um,
Well, unless you want oral sex,
right. Yeah. Unless you want that, but otherwise, some parts some parts of Griffith Park I won't go.
Right.
And that's not even knowing a lot of the stories they were giving us. And I'm like, holy crap. Right.
Wow.
And they have a hard time recruiting people. Again,
Well,
they're
what's the pay
firefighters.
like? Do they get paid the same amount as the LAPD?
No.
Oh,
Probably a lot lower.
Yes, they
interesting.
don't. And we talked about a few things about that. There's also some kind of movement to have the LAPD absorb them or another police organization absorb them.
That would
Um,
be the smart thing.
I don't know if it would be the smart thing. And
Well,
here's my thinking, right? Because those guys are firefighters and those guys are first aid. Um, they're the ones that teach our kids when we go to the parks, right? You go to a station, they talk to the kids. I don't know if absorbing them, but maybe if it was another police department, it's
yeah,
LAPD. So I'm
well,
like, I don't think I want LAPD in charge of crap. Not because of the police officers, because I have a lot of respect for the police officers, but sometimes the leadership in LAPD leaves a lot to be desired for, because they get caught up in politics instead of law enforcement. Right?
yeah. It
And
sounds
that's
like they need a park police department who patrol the parks and also work as their backup.
could be. I mean, that would work.
The
Yeah,
CHP would be good to absorb
Right.
that.
I agree with that. Definitely
right.
the CHP. Right. Um, the
Now,
state police.
these are state parks.
Well, they're county parks, city parks,
Okay,
which is really weird how it is in LA County. It's just strange. Because I was under the assumption that if you were a park ranger, it was either state level or federal level, and not in LA. It doesn't work that way.
Oh,
wow. Yeah,
So,
we have what they call the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission,
mm,
and they do, like the facilities. We have a swimming facility, and we got different little park places that they own, and we get taxed for it. And so you have a park police, and you got the park rangers who sometimes collect the fees for people coming into the parks if they're, charged admission to come in.
right. It just kind of the way it operates is really strange. And I know they mentioned that some city council members don't want to help them and some do. But ultimately, it's up to Karen Bass to push it through. And I'm hoping that they petitioned again to be authorized to carry weapons. Um, Hopefully, she'll approve it, or at least give the go sign for city council to approve it, because that's really where it ends up anyway. Um, it was I spent with them about 4 hours the other day, and just going back and forth, which was good for me because I got to watch them get dispatched, give their directions, what they wanted to do, what they should be doing, where they need to be. But they don't have partners, right? So they're not like a LAPD who has a partner with him or her, or if they need backup, you can call and LAPD will have somebody there quickly for you.
Right.
When there's only that few, there's really no backup if something's going wrong quickly, right? So they're on their own, um, which is
Yeah.
kind of scary, especially in LA County. With all the homeless, drug issues, mental illness issues we have.
We've had shootings in our parks, stuff like this that go on too, and that's when the park police would come in. Now, we don't have rangers at every park, um, just the park properties that the commission controls.
Mhm.
Well, I'm thinking of, if there's a manhunt, like a few years ago, there was a cop killer out there and they had a manhunt everywhere. They always like to hide in these state parks.
Right.
So it just makes sense that they should carry a firearm.
That's the reason they hang out there because they know
And,
that there's no weapons.
You think
and
that's it?
especially
Yeah.
and especially if they're qualified, right? If they're
Right.
qualified to fire a firearm, then it's not like a civilian having a weapon. They want, it's for duty. While you're on duty, you have the weapon. So,
Right.
So
and I know there's
service.
a lot of issues with unions and agreements and all that, but I think, and my point of bringing it up is, I think we've lost a common sense approach to things in general, right? I mean, to me, it makes sense that they're able to protect themselves and others because people go camping at Griffith Park, people go running at Griffith Park, people have
Animals.
parties at Griffith Park, right? That's a big part, right?
Yeah.
Hanson Dam's the same thing. It's near Pacoima and Silmar. There's a lot of gang activity out there, right? What are they going to be able to do, right? Nothing really. You have a taser, okay. Some people can just tolerate a taser,
Oh, not me.
right?
Been
So
there,
it
done
just
that.
So it's just, it makes me wonder who's thinking of all these policies that really make no sense to me at all. It makes no sense to me at
Do
all.
you have like game wardens or natural resources police?
I think we have game wardens, but I think those
Yeah.
are at state parks. I think
Or
state parks
state
or
parks?
federal parks. Yeah.
Right. We got both, depending on the park.
And these guys, these 36 to 40 guys and gals, they patrol all the way from Griffith Park to Hanson Dam to Castaic area, right? That's a lot of patrolling.
Yeah.
And they were asking people if they wanted to volunteer to work because they don't have enough people to work in the meeting. Can somebody volunteer to work? I mean, that's when you start hearing those things, actual people talking that, hey, the manpower, think about LAPD, right? I mean, we have what, maybe 9,000 officers, Al?
Yeah, something like that.
We need
They're
about 12.
supposed to hire more. They're supposed to hire more.
She
Um,
authorized that new hiring. I know that, Karen Bass.
she authorized a pay raise too.
Yeah,
So,
so, I mean,
so she's proven herself to be pro law enforcement.
yes, she is. She definitely is, which is good because we need that. We need that. But we should have 12,000 cops. in LA.
At least.
At least
At least.
12,000 cops.
It's hard to find good people that are saying they a lot of it is the drug use. Have you ever tried cocaine? Well, I smoked crack once. You're out.
Yeah.
And they throw these people come out like when I applied some years ago, they said, "Have you ever smoked marijuana?" No. Wait a minute, you're from this county and you've never smoked marijuana? And I said, no, I knew what my focus was in life. And I've never even tried it, even till this day, even when I'm retired and it's legal out here. No.
Yep. Well, again, it goes back to you got to change too with the times, right? Because, when you and I were growing up, things were different, right? We were paranoid of doing anything, right?
Right.
And as time changes, people try stuff. That doesn't make them a bad person, right? Doesn't make them a drug addict. Hey, they tried, they quit, fine, right? If they come up clean out of your analysis, I don't see what the problem is, myself anyway, right? Do I agree with it? It doesn't matter whether I agree with it or not, right? What matters is what the law says, and if they pass the drug screen and they have good moral compass and every background check you made is positive, then none of that should matter.
Right.
So,
we've got random drug testing out here. And the first person got canned for smoking weed was a major. And, it was one of those things. And now I don't know what they're doing. It's legal, but they could always say, well, it's our policy. You can't do this, and we're still going to do the testing.
Right.
The weed is the worst because it stays in your system for 30 days.
Yep.
Well, and that's why when you saw Hunter Biden go into court one day, he had his hair shaved all down because they thought if they could take his hair and get a sample off of that, they could tell whether he was still using or not.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that why you shave your head, Tony?
Take the fifth.
The sad part is, I'm still scared of trying that shit at my age. Because, you're in the Army 26 years and that gets beaten into you. By the time you get out, you're just like, there's no point now. I'm not young anymore. If I do it, I probably have to go to ER to get fucking revived or something.
I know my brother tried it when he retired from the fire department, and it just lit him up so bad he was out power washing his whole house that day.
And I picture this, right? I can have 2 drinks and then I get sleepy. I can't even imagine doing the other stuff.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah,
maybe someday over the rainbow. So, and I want to tell you guys about some of the things that we discussed today in the meetings this morning. Oh, look who's here.
Steamboat Willie.
Steamboat.
Either that or Santa Claus.
Hey, buddy.
He looks like Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hey,
Palpatine. Or Palpatine.
Hey, Al, tell him I can legally use Steamboat Willie now.
Yes. Oh, right. Yeah. Walt Disney Company lost their rights to Mickey Mouse. It's been 95 years.
Wow.
Mickey Mouse is now public domain.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of Mickey Mouse people in the House and the Senate.
This is true. This is true.
Goofy's in the White House.
Let's give them credit because they actually made a good decision today with the Department of Labor lady. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, good. Hadn't heard that one yet.
Yeah, well,
all I know is California is trying to get Trump off the ticket because he's not 40 years old.
Hey, there's 15 states trying to get him off the ballot now.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Colorado.
It's not going to work. Colorado will reverse that decision. Will be reversed.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be reversed.
Yeah.
The question is, how quickly are they going to do it, and what the vote is going to be?
They got to do it before January 4th.
If it's not 9-0, I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be 9-9, but I think there will be two of them that might not do it, and we know who they are.
Yeah.
Well, I want to wish Tony Rodriguez a happy anniversary. He's been on the air a year now.
Wow.
Awesome.
So have you.
Well, off and on, yeah. I'm at an undisclosed location right next door to LAX.
Wow. It's not undisclosed anymore.
But I'm not going to be able. I'm not going to be able to stay long tonight.
Okay.
So you guys, you have a good show. Congratulations on winning that endorsement this morning, Tony.
Thank you, sir.
2024 bust.
Yep.
Love you guys.
Keep up the good graphic work.
Take care, buddy. Doing a good
All right.
job.
All right, Steamboat.
Say hi to George Lucas for me.
I'm super excited that he can use Steamboat Willie now, and I'm glad Disney lost the rights to Mickey. They keep getting handed losses here lately. So, not that I'm a big fan of companies losing money, but Disney needs to wake up to what's really going
It's hard
on.
to believe 95 years ago, you know, we grew up with Mickey Mouse, so it's always been a part of our lives. But
Yeah.
you know, my grandparents, they didn't know who he was.
Right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it's sad that, again, this is where we're at, right? Just sad. So I want to talk about Mr. Trump now. Steamboat brought it up a little bit. So why do you think the judges in Colorado did this, knowing that, okay, in my opinion, whether I like Trump or not, it's an idiotic decision. I don't see how this could legally stand. First of all, whether you believe it or not, Trump never got charged or convicted of J6. So what is their angle? Is it, because it doesn't stop anything.
It's just like Abraham Lincoln. He got voted out on 10 states and still won.
And that's really my question. Let's just say that the Supreme Court doesn't get involved and they say, we don't want to get involved in this. Handle it, right? What does that do to the election, though? I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, I hear Colorado actually is now, their GOP is saying, if we don't put him on the primary, we're going to have us a caucus.
Right.
So,
if you're a Trump supporter in Colorado, all you do is write his name in. That's all you do.
They won't accept write-ins.
They won't accept it in the primary. That's the thing.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
Oh.
They won't accept it in the primary, which is funny, right? This is only for the primary, which really makes no sense. If you want to banish him, then you should have gone a different route, because all this does is removes them from the primary, right? The electorate can still decide, even after the election. The GOP in Colorado can say, we're going to endorse Donald Trump, right? And that's it.
Okay.
I mean, so it's up to the elected to do that. So,
and I'm trying to figure out if the insurrection thing is a federal law. Why is the court trying to do a state court trying to enforce federal law?
Well, again, it goes back to everything. It's a little confusing why they even did it, because, okay, I'm not an attorney, but I know that he wasn't charged or convicted. So if he's not charged or convicted, how are you using that to get him removed from the ballot, from the primaries, right? But think about this. Like, now I know two people that are getting charged for stuff against the Democratic Party. One of them is Siaka Massaskui for January 6th. And then there's Omar Navarro, and you might have heard of him, Al. He ran against Maxine Waters a few times.
Okay.
And he lost. He lost the election.
Okay.
Now he's being charged by the FBI, by the Department of Justice, for some things he has said about Maxine Waters, right?
Just for things he said?
Just for things he said, right?
And she should
what
be charged for things she said as an insurrection.
Right. But they won't. That's the thing. We've gotten to the point now where it's tit for tat, right?
Exactly.
And we're going to lose the American people if this is all we keep doing, right? Oh, no, shame on you. No, shame on you. Arguing back and forth. And we're not even thinking about the people or the constituents at all.
Right. That's right.
It's all about, well, this guy might get me removed from office, so I'm going to take him out, right? Or this lady said something mean, I want her gone, right?
Like playing a game of Battleship.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a group of parents yesterday about this book that is in elementary school libraries, right? And I know some people don't like the banning of books, and that's kind of a loose term, where DeSantis did a poor job of explaining about books, right? To ban a book, you have to do it legally, right? The governor can't just sign something and say, I'm banning this book, period. That's not really the truth. People assume DeSantis did that because he didn't articulate what he did. What he did is put some books off limits from the school libraries for kids based on age. Now, I'm going to tell you guys about a book in LAUSD, and it's called These Big Nuts. Right? Now, if you look at the cover of the book, right, it's a squirrel with two nuts on its side. But once you open up the book, it's very sexualized.
Huh.
It talks about a female squirrel putting his nuts in her mouth. And this is in elementary school, right?
Really?
So it's not that I want to ban books, and this is the part that I was trying to get through to people.
It's the context.
Some books don't need to be in grammar school, period.
Right.
Right? Now, if you want to put it at a high school, fine. I don't care, right? That's high school. But I'm talking about elementary school. I don't need a third grader reading this book or a parent reading this book to their child. I mean, if you do it at home, that's your own thing. But it should not be in the library. And I know people say, well, you're trying to ban books. You're a communist. No. I'm trying to protect kids from the nonsense that we have in today's world, right?
It should be the context.
Kids don't need to be involved in any of that. A third grade kid should not be worried about that kind of book, right? I want them to read a real book, a nice book. It doesn't have to be a fairy tale, but a science book, a history book, something besides the nonsense that they like to portray out there.
Right.
And I know sometimes it makes us sound like we're communists and we're trying to dictate. No, but we got to have rules, right? Got to have laws. Kind of like the reason we have police officers and sheriffs, because we have laws, right? They have to be maintained. We need people to enforce those laws. If we do it with cops, I know in LA, it'll be a party, right, for the wrong people.
It already is.
Already is out here too.
So
you got a DA that's not prosecuting. You could walk out of a store with $900 worth of merchandise and just walk away.
Yes.
And the crazy part is you're right? We have a DA like that. And yet we try to remove him twice, and twice he survived, right? Which to me is very, very scary, right?
Because he's backed by a powerful man named George Soros.
Exactly. But it's scary that even people knowing all his nonsense, we still couldn't get over him. And I still believe he's going to make it through the primary.
Do you think so?
I think he's going to make it through. I don't know against who. I'm hoping John Hatami is his opponent. But I don't know. I think he's barely going to make it. It'll be him and somebody else.
Well, look at his new chief of staff.
Yeah, I know.
Who was arrested in '92 for looting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's and we talk about, it's a strange balance back to the kids between kids' rights and parental rights, right? Because we want to make sure kids have rights also, right? But we have to be cognizant that we got to protect their innocence too, right? We don't want kids growing up being 10 years old knowing things that they should be worried about playing. They should be worrying about sports, activities,
Riding a
not
bike.
just sexuality, not reading a book. You know, I always relate to I never have ever taken my son to a strip bar. Never, right? Even for his, bachelor party, we had it at a normal place. We didn't have it anything crazy, no women. Um, as an Army veteran, I was exposed to some of that stuff when I was overseas,
Sure.
but never when I'm here in the States. I never thought about that in the States. So it's weird to me that we're okay with exposing our kids to people like, Anthony, the mayor of, and I'll just say his first name, the mayor of Burbank, Constantine, um, wanting to defund the police, right?
Is he the one that wanted to be spanked in public or something?
Yes. Well, he got
Oh,
spanked. He got
yeah,
spanked
he
in
did.
public.
by
Oh,
by the drag queen or something.
Yep, he got spanked in public.
You can't make this stuff up, folks.
No,
No,
and you know what? He gives a bad name to people in the movie industry, right? Or because he's an actor, right? He's a comedian. Obviously, he's got to be both because he's the mayor of Burbank. But he's a comedian and an actor, um, who wants to do away with law enforcement. Is for some of these books for kids. Is for Burbank was the first city that allowed the transgender, in downtown Burbank, the party where the parents brought their kids so they can watch the transgenders dance and sit on their laps and show them how to put a condom on a banana. Um, part of the problem is the parents, right? As a parent, I
right.
wouldn't have taken my child there, right? Now, if I wanted to go see it as an adult, that's a different story. But as a parent, you shouldn't do that.
When I
Expose
was
your children to that.
working the roads, I had kids who would call us up and say, my daddy spanked me. He's child abuse." When this child abuse thing came into effect, people don't know the difference. The kids don't know the difference
No.
between discipline and child abuse.
Well,
And
I'm venture to say that sometimes adults don't know the difference between,
that's true.
because
Well,
everything is about feelings and emotions and gender identification and whatever the case is, right? Um, and I don't have a problem with if whatever you want to be, right? That's on you. I don't care, right? But for you to try to force it on children and others, that's wrong, right?
Right.
No, I don't think we should be able to do that to anybody. And that's part of the issues I have sometimes with the party, with the Republican Party, because they used to be so focused on certain things, and not on reality. We live in California, right? We not you, Mikey, but Al and I do,
I live in
right?
California, the East Coast.
So we live in a state where abortion is a big issue, right? It is a big issue, but you got to get over it because in California it's in the Constitution, right? I can't change the Constitution
Right.
in California, right? It's going to take, I'm going to say, a few years of voting in people that have common sense to even attempt to remove it.
Right.
And even if you have enough politicians that want to remove it, it's still going to be voted on by the people, right?
yeah,
The people of California are not going to vote against that issue at all.
right.
Right. So you're not going to remove it. So using that as a platform for your campaign, to me, is ridiculous. Right.
Yeah.
All we can do,
Give them
whether
options.
we agree with it or not, is show them some kind of support. Hey, person, we have adoption agencies. Maybe if you carry it, we'll help you get that baby adopted, right? And if they still say no, well, there's really not much you can do, right? Because we can't fight that. We can't fight that fight. We're not prepared to fight that battle
Right.
at this point in California. Let's fight battles that we can win. Let's fight about parental rights. Let's fight about school choice. Let's fight about public safety, for God's sake,
Exactly.
right? Especially in LA, you know. And I don't know about Maryland, but here, once again, we have those cameras now at our Vons. with that blue light on top,
Right, we got those too.
right?
in the parking lot. Yeah.
Yep. I never, to be honest, I never thought I would see that in my
I
neighborhood.
know the guy that runs that business.
Well, he's making money.
He's making money. He was a retired policeman.
Yeah, he's making money because there are a lot of the major stores have them now.
Yep.
But it's a sign of the times, right? It's a
Yep.
sign of the times.
Yeah.
Right? And yet we still keep voting for people that they want to support green energy. And I'm not against green energy. Okay, I'm not. But I think we need to prioritize what's important, right? And in order for us to move to this green energy plan that saved the world, we need to have an infrastructure, specifically in California. We don't have one. There's not even one. They're not even coming up with one. They just want you to buy these cars and not even have a plan for it.
We can't even catch the rainwater that's coming down. It goes right into the ocean. Why don't you spend money on catching the rainwater?
Well, because they don't know what to do with that money. Remember, a couple years back, they had those bonds for the dams, and they never got built, right? But that's because we have people like Newsom, Pelosi in charge, who really don't care about, I hate to use this word, the normal constituent, right? It's all about their money.
And their wine and their ice cream. Yep.
It's like businesses, right? How does Amazon, a company that makes millions and millions of dollars a day, get tax breaks, but a restaurant, Wild Cherries and Selling to Hunger, goes out of business, right? They don't get any tax breaks. They don't get taken care of by the government, but Amazon does.
Right? Yeah, that's strange.
And Walmart does. I mean, Walmart is one of the most powerful countries in the world.
Yeah, it's a backward system. The richest people in the world pay no income tax, and a kid working at Taco Bell pays more tax than a billionaire. There's something wrong.
Didn't Trump say that in one of his debates when he was president or something? When they asked him, "Hey, I took advantage of the system," right? So how does a rich person take advantage of the system, but a hardworking blue collar person can't? And if he does, they'll probably get arrested or get fined. But the people like Trump and these millionaires don't get anything. Bezos, he can do whatever he wants.
It's
right? Nobody cares.
It's white collar crime. That's why.
I mean,
white collar crime gets away with everything.
And if you don't pay your taxes, you get penalized for every so often, every day or something. Right. I'm still waiting on a check that I sent in back in April for a refund. I should be charging them interest.
Good luck, Mike.
I know.
Good luck with
that's
that
the two-tier system.
Yep. Hey, I mean, we have two restaurants in Tujunga, and Tujunga is a small town, right? They're going to go out of business by the end of December, right? They're closing the doors, period. There's nothing we can do about it, right?
Yeah.
There's no government agency that'll help these people if they want help. Again, I don't know if they do or not, to reopen somewhere else, right? We don't do a good job of, and we keep talking when you listen to politicians talk, oh, small business is the backbone of our country. Well, if it's the backbone, then support it.
Right.
Right. Obviously, Amazon doesn't need our help, right? They really don't. Walmart definitely doesn't need our help.
Right.
Right. But those small mom and pops that hire local people need help, and we abandon them. We don't do anything to help them. Which, again, if I'm a constituent and I'm looking at all this, I mean, like, you know what, Susie, you've been in office for 4 years and you haven't done squat for us. I'm voting you out. I don't care. Right. We need to bring somebody else in to fill that position, because obviously it's not working out. It's not working out.
Yeah. And our crime out here is bad. It is so bad that the Washington Capitals and the Washington Wizards are going to move out of D.C. and they want to go to Virginia because everything's better over there, and they want to build new complexes for them. And the arena that they're in now, I've been there several times. I don't see any problem with it, but they may need some upgrades. But they're just, because people are getting shot right out in front of their stadiums, they're saying, we're done. We're done.
Well, the Golden State Warriors moved out of Oakland,
Yeah,
right?
and
The A's are leaving.
so do
The
the
Oakland A's
Raiders.
are leaving. Raiders
Yep.
left, right? So I mean, it happens everywhere. We just oblivious to it or just want to ignore it because it's not affecting us immediately. But at some point, it's going to affect us all, right? Oakland, it's going to affect them financially.
Yep.
It's going to affect people that live there, people that used to work there.
Well, it's just like with all the insurance fraud we have out here. Who pays for
Oh
it?
yeah,
We do.
Right.
We our rates raised. We pay for all the fraud.
And then all the stolen cars that happen and everything else, you pay for that too.
Yeah.
well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Al, because that's one of my pet peeves with workers' comp in California. There's some formula that the state follows, blah 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 blah. But the reason that formula means nothing to me because in my job, I've had at least 3 injuries that we've had evidence that it's fraud injury,
Right.
and we still have to pay those guys off.
Yep.
I had one guy for 2 years, and we got him on video playing basketball in a basketball league.
Right.
And I think I've told you guys this before. Watching this big old wheel truck he had, jumping off the truck,
Right.
shooting a basketball, running up and down on a 2-hour game, and the state still found on his behalf.
Yeah.
Right.
Not,
And we still had to pay him off.
not
So
enforcing
when they
fraud.
talk about the formulas, I'm always like, no, the reason the formula is screwed up because you allow it.
Right.
You allow it to happen. Because if there's evidence that there's nothing wrong with that person, then it should be a no-brainer.
You know,
You know what? You need to go back to work. Period.
you have an investigator, you hire investigators, they like for workman's comp, and what you do is they go sit outside your house a few days a week or whatever just to see what you're doing. And they see you lifting bags of mulch or climbing up into your truck, take the pictures, present it, say this is fraud.
Hey, well, you know what? That's exactly what we did with our injury.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly what we
they
did.
did
And
all
the
that, and they
the
still
peop- and the people who make the judgments aren't doing their job.
Okay, because what the problem we have is if you have a workers' comp injury, everybody goes to an attorney, right away. Right.
Right.
If you go to any Concentra clinic, and I'll use Concentra, they have a TV. And that TV, what they have is attorneys advertising in the clinic, right? So we make people get a lawyer, right? The lawyer doesn't lose any money. All the lawyer has to do is just keep milking the system.
And he makes money.
Killing the guy, pretend you're in pain, right?
Yep.
And then it goes to some judge who's not really a judge. It's some clerk that makes a decision, and they make a decision based on what the attorneys arguing back and forth. By the time it gets to a point where the company A is paying their attorney fees, that worker is not paying that attorney anything because it's all based on what he gets.
Right.
What he gets, right?
They take the
So-
third.
Right. Sometimes even more, right?
Yep.
But it's kind of like immigration. The reason we have the problem we have with people disappearing is because instead of the government taking charge of immigration, these people have to hire attorneys, right? The attorneys rip these people off. These people that want to be here legally for years and years and years. They keep postponing the court date. So after a while, these people are tired of paying and they say, screw it, I'm already here. Right?
I'm moving.
Right? I'm already in the US. They're not going to deport me. So I'm not going to go through the process to get my permanent resident paperwork or become a citizen. I don't need to. Right. And so it's an abuse issue with people. Right.
Yep.
It's not a problem with that person coming from Mexico here. The problem is that when they get here, we don't do our due diligence to either get them ready to take their paperwork and become U.S. citizens or resident aliens. We don't do any of that. We hand it off to some attorney who doesn't really care, who really is ripping them off.
And I saw down at the border, some lady had a card that she had been given after she got processed, and it says, you must respond on January 6th to this courthouse in 2031.
Yep.
What the hell?
And Kennedy said it best when he spoke in LA. he says we need to build a wall higher than Trump wants, right? But we need to have a gate where everybody gets funneled to, and a judge is there to make a decision right away. If it's somebody that, if they pass the background and they're good, then here, we're going to do you a temporary visa right now. You're eligible to work in the U.S. That'll solve half the problems.
And it'll create income for the state.
And these people won't get abused either, right? Because we know they get abused, right?
Yep.
So this way they won't get abused because they're not here illegally anymore. They're going through a process, right? Let's the government take charge of that. I'm not a big fan of big government, but when it comes to immigration, that has to be something that the government's responsible for at the federal level, because it's their job. It's not the state's job to do that. Right?
Well, I kind of like what Texas is doing now. They're making it a state law, saying all their police officers, if they find the illegals, they can arrest them. And
yeah, but that's Texas. That would never happen here.
That's going to be an interesting case because
they have to arrest half the state.
Yeah, yeah, because it's and everybody's complaining about oh well you can't do that. Well, why? It's an invasion. It's an invasion.
Well, and I'll tell you, they're catching more terrorists coming from the northern border than the southern border.
That is true,
right? So here we are, Canada, who won't allow U.S. citizens to work in Canada if you have a misdemeanor, to include a DUI. Yet all the terrorists are coming through that area, most of them, which is an interesting theory, right? That's happening,
and that's a very porous border all the way across Canada.
I didn't realize, and this is a true statement, I did not realize that Canada did not allow you to work in their state if you had any kind of misdemeanors, if you're a U.S. citizen.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't either.
Right? I learned that recently because we're working with a customer that's doing some work in Canada.
I mean, we had people when I was working for a contract company for the FBI that when they were building a building, people had to come in and show their birth certificates. And I had a guy from like Ecuador or wherever he was from come in and said, "I'd like to work here." And he showed us his birth certificate. You can't work here. Got to go.
And these are accurate numbers. I want to tell you this. So from the southern border, there was 227 people arrested that were on the terrorist watch list. The northern border, there was 432.
Wow.
Right. That they picked up on the watch list. So
my question is I used to work at the center where the watch list was done. And at that time, we were getting information from like Israel, for example, for who was on their watch list. But we didn't know if it was political or it was actual criminal because they've got different standards. If our government saw you at a terrorist training camp, boop, you got put on a watch list.
Yeah.
And then
as it should be, right? As it should be, right? I don't want any, the numbers are crazy. So today, as I'm researching, women and children sex trafficking has been up 600%.
Wow.
600%. That is a ridiculous number. So I want to educate myself because I know people come after me with, you're a bigot, you're racist because you want border security. No, I want to do it the right way.
Right.
I want to do it the right way. And really, I haven't heard anybody besides Kennedy say the right way, in my opinion. Right? Everybody else they want to redo this, redo that. We just need to enforce the laws we have in the books now.
Right.
We don't need to reinvent anything.
I think it was also at one point from what I read in the past that if you came over, you had to pay a certain amount to get through the naturalization process. And my mother was a naturalized. She was from Canada, and she came over the right way. And
well, yeah, I mean, think about when Ellis Island was open, right? Back in those days, right? Yeah. Think about some of the stuff you read about that, where people went through a process. They got checked out medically, physically, background checks, right? And we got to have some kind of way to process people without worrying about some people calling us racist and bigots, and that's wrong. Because if you think about this, we'll use Mexico as a prime example. You know, in Mexico, a voting card is more important than a personal ID,
I believe it.
right? But if we want to do that, again, we're racist, we're bigots, which, you know, it's because that's been ingrained in people's mind now, right? If you can't check somebody. Well, I'm tired of watching women and kids get abused coming across the border, whether it's the southern border or northern border, right? Because that's who gets abused, the children and the women, right?
Yep.
Most guys don't get abused, right? A lot of those people sacrifice their daughters to the cartel to bring them over.
Yep.
And when we get to that point and we're worried about if I want to close the border, then I'm a racist. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I drive around Tahunga almost every day, and most people have fences.
Yeah.
Why do you have a fence?
Nancy Pelosi's got fences.
Right? If you're not concerned about somebody coming in, why do you have a fence?
Why do you have a door on your house?
So, you know, and it's because we get caught up with the R and the D. And I said this to the Rangers yesterday, and I watch reactions of people when I speak, and I said, you know, I'm not asking you to vote because I'm a Republican. I said, I'm asking you to vote for the right person. If you don't think I'm the right person, then don't vote for me.
Right.
If you think somebody else is, then vote for that person. But don't vote because of the letters, because that's the biggest mistake we make when we vote for letters.
Right.
Right? When we vote for letters, we vote for the wrong person. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first to say this. I voted for Bill Clinton twice, right? And I was a Republican, and I voted for Bill Clinton twice, right? To me, he was the best candidate at that time.
Right.
I don't give a crap about Monica Lewinsky, none of that. My concern with him was the economy was working. We were at peace. If he had to do something, he would do it.
You were supporting law enforcement?
Yep. You know, that's all I care about.
He was
You
the
do
one,
the right
he
thing
was the
for
one that
people.
actually, he started the cops program by giving the government's money, saying, hire these policemen, and for the next 5 years, the federal government will pay their salaries, but after that, you pick it up.
You know, and that's the message I think we want to get across. That's the message I'm trying to get across. Think about who you're going to vote for before you vote.
Right.
Don't vote for somebody because of a letter next to their name. Vote for what they stand for. And you know, Congressman, and I forget his full name, starts with a B. I think he might be in your district, Al.
Bend over?
No, God, I forget his name.
That's
He
what
runs, I believe District 32, right? Bloomfield.
Oh, Bloomfield.
Yeah, what about Bob's a good guy. What about him?
That's what I'm saying. He holds town hall meetings about 30 times a year, right?
Yeah.
To get feedback from the community, right?
Yeah, and he's very involved with our Chamber of Commerce.
Right. So
it's all of our
it doesn't matter that he's a Democrat. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? He's super engaged and super involved.
Right.
he's a good
That's what we need, right? We need people that come talk to us. Hey, what's going on? How can I help? Right? That's all I want. I just want somebody to help.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not somebody that sits like, you know, like Adam Schiff, and doesn't do anything for the community. Doesn't come and talk to us. Just shows up for parades.
Well, that's because
that's it.
that's because you're not in Maryland, where he's
Yeah,
got his
that's true.
home.
That's true. You know, I urge people to, especially this election cycle, to just make sure that you know who you're voting for. Make sure you check their website out. You know, make sure you talk to them if you have the opportunity, right? Like one thing I've made quite clear to everywhere I've spoken is that number on that business card is my cell number. I will answer my calls. I don't have somebody else taking my calls. I answer them all. Good, bad, or indifferent. Some are pretty bad, but that's okay. You have the right to your opinion.
Right.
But we need to get away from the old way and get back to talking to your neighbors, helping your friends. And if you see something, say something. If you know something's going on with a neighbor and you can't help, you know, we know people that need help. And what did you guys do? You helped, right? You helped.
Yep.
That's what people should do for each other, help each other.
Right.
If we see a kid in trouble, you know, talk to the parents, right? Maybe sometimes parents don't know because they're so busy working 2 jobs and doing other things.
True.
And they trust their kids, and kids are going to be kids. Let's be real, right? Kids are all assholes, period, right? We were all kids. We all tried to get away with stuff when we were kids. We didn't mom and dad want to know anything.
They found out.
Kids are just kids, right? I mean, even to this day, I'm leery of saying anything bad in front of my parents, right? It's just, we got to teach respect again. And respect doesn't mean bowing to people, just being respectful, just being helpful. If you see somebody in trouble, help them if you can. If you can't, call somebody that can help them instead of this, well, that's not my problem. That's his problem or her problem.
Right.
Because that's really, you know, I've heard from parents that don't have kids in school. Why should I care about parental rights? Because I don't have any kids in school. Well, you should care because those kids are going to grow up, right? And those kids are going to be our leaders in the future. And if we keep allowing this nonsense to keep happening in our schools, these kids are just going to do what the other people are doing. They're not going to, you know, kids are going to want to get, come on, kids are kids. They're going to want to get away with everything, right? We got to make sure that we teach them all the things to make them good citizens.
Yeah, don't walk around with blinders on.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what
There was no
unfortunately a lot of
social
people
media
do.
when I was a kid.
You know, and some people that defund the police, and I know quite a few people that want to do away with the police department because nothing's ever happened to them, right? But it goes back to what I tell them is, okay, think about this. Let's say you're at a store and there's a smash and grab and somebody hits you. Do you want the police to come then? Well, yeah. Okay. So your theory is moronic,
Right.
right? And if you guys ever want to see a moron in action, just type in Constantine Anthony and watch his video on why we should defund the police, right? Because he tries to articulate an argument why police are bad. And I know somebody will buy into it. I get it. But that's the wrong idea. That's the wrong idea.
That's because he had a bad experience somewhere down the line with the police department, and he blames it on them instead of himself.
Not sure his reasoning, but he's running for supervisor for LA, which is a scary thought if he gets in there. Right? Scary thought. The guy is definitely a far left guy who has these views. You know, and anybody that wants to get spanked publicly, I have a problem with anyway. If you want to get spanked privately, that's on you. You know, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see, you know, people getting spanked. Somebody asked me, was it yesterday or today? I think it was yesterday. How did he get elected the mayor? And I'm like, I don't know. We need to talk to people in Burbank because they're the ones that elected him. And he won. He really won big time. There was no doubt that he was elected. And yet this is what the true colors come out. There's been videos, old videos before he was mayor doing crazy stuff, and he still got elected, right? So, you know, we just have to do a better job of researching people and talking to people. And for example, state assembly, it's a 2-year term. In 2 years, if you don't see your assembly person coming back to the community to talk to you, well, we need to find somebody else.
Right.
Find somebody else. I don't want you talking to me during election time. I want you talking to me when everything's going on. I want you to tell me what's going on. I want you to let me know that these bills are coming through. So at least I have an opportunity to address these crazy bills in California before they become law. Right? Because the last thing I want to do is find out that we're getting taxed again for rain. Hey, we're going to tax you for rain, Tony. It's too late, right? You can't fight. Or or the tax for mileage is going to pass. By the time we fight back and push, it's too late. It already passed. So I want to make sure that the people stay informed, whether they're going to like what I have to say or not. I'm going to tell them, hey, this bill is coming. This bill was written by this person. I need your help to fight because I can't do it alone.
Right.
I mean, there's just no way. Right. This nonsense that politicians can do everything alone is just ridiculous. We need the people to support us, just like any police department. The chief can't do everything. He needs his cops, right? In the Army, the generals can't do anything without the troops, right? We all need to chip in and fight the battle together. And until we realize that, we're not going to get out of the mess we're in. And I'm seriously hoping that 2024, I don't really care what party you're in, as long as you have common sense and you want to help the community and the people in the community, that's who you should vote for.
Yeah.
That person that wants to help. Anybody talking about nonsense about green energy and all this, that's not a priority as far as I'm concerned. If that's what you're talking about, it tells me you don't care about public safety, it tells me you don't care about our kids, you don't care about the security of the country, you don't care about anything but stupid shit. Right? And I'm not for that. So any closing thoughts, guys?
No, I think we hit it all this week.
I think we got it. I just want to say we got a Grateful Hearts event on April 6th, which is a fundraiser for the LAPD. So everyone who wants to defund the LAPD, we're going to reverse it and we're going to fund them.
Yeah.
Put on by the West Valley Warner Center Chamber of Commerce Community Benefit Foundation. And I'm on the.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that, Al. Thank you. Thank
you. You got it.
You know, just to follow up on Al, anybody that wants to defund the police, go get your head checked.
No shit.
There's something wrong with you.
Exactly.
I want to thank Mike and Al for being on with me tonight. Steamboat Willie, thank you for your short appearance. Good to see you again, sir. I want to thank the audience out there. I want you to check me out, my website, Tony4 California.us. I am running for State Assembly District 44, which includes Glendale, Burbank, Sunland, Tujunga, La Crescenta, Montrose, Valley Village, Lakeview Terrace, and Shadow Hills. We need to start making a change, and the change begins with us, not them.
That's right.
Thank you, and good night, everybody.
Good night.